So today has been a pretty eventful day of price action, I have to say. So I want to pretty much go over the Bitcoin price action, go over how my plans have changed, and then later I want to go over all of the scalp trades that I took today because I have taken quite a few, not all of them being profitable, but I want to go over all of the scalps that I took during this wild price action. So this morning we had CPI numbers release, which I guess gave us some upside volatility. We got a pretty large move to the upside. After those numbers dropped, right around 8:30, we got like a 2% pump to the upside, and then from there we got to this massive move to the downside. We got a move below the lows of the range. We actually came down to a very significant level. If I go to the higher time frames, we wicked down below the value area low of this larger range. We also took out these lows. We grabbed the liquidity from all of these lows, and we wicked down to a 5-minute order block that I had marked out from over here. We actually bounced from that, pretty perfectly. Price only moved a little bit below the top of that order block. I took a scalp long from here, and before that I took one from this NDPOC, which I'll go over those a little later. I'm not sure, I can't actually remember if this was a level that I had marked out or if this was a VIP Discord level, but I'm going to assume since it worked so well that it was probably a White Phoenix level. But either way, we came down below these lows and bounced from that 5-minute order block. And now we have gotten a move back above the value area low of this range. Also above these lows, and if we start to see higher time frame candle closes up here, which we did just get a 1-hour candle close, I would like to see probably like 12-hour, maybe daily closes up above these lows to kind of confirm it as an SFP, but the more higher time frame candle closes we get above these lows, the more convinced I will be that this was an SFP. And I think what happens throughout the rest of the day is going to be very important because, in my opinion, I think it will determine whether Bitcoin gets another move back up to the highs of the range, or if we see a move outside of this range to the downside and potentially start a larger retracement here, because these lows are, in my opinion, really the last hope for us to continue seeing more upside. I think if we lose the lows of this range, then we will probably start getting a move down to some supports that we have lower. I have to say I do like the reaction that we've seen so far from these lows. Price getting back above the value area low, getting back above these lows after grabbing the liquidity, and looking at market Cipher, we are seeing some promising signs there as well. So I'll just kind of run through all the time frames starting from the daily. So the daily, not really seeing any divergences, at least in terms of momentum. However, as price came down to put in a lower low here, the money flow has increased on the daily. The money flow is still in the green, and as of right now it's not looking too bad. If we zoom in, it's not even really turning to the downside yet. So this is technically a divergence with money flow on the daily. The momentum wave isn't exactly seeming bottomish yet, but it could just kind of easily turn around like this, and it might still take a few days for us to print that green dot. The 12-hour, well, money flow is getting a turn to the downside. That's not looking too good. And overall, money flow on the 12-hour has been decreasing for a while now, and we are now putting in lower lows in the red. So not looking super good on the 12-hour in terms of money flow, but we do see a potential divergence in momentum here. This 12-hour wave right now is diverging because we put in a lower low in price, yet the wave right now is seemingly looking to make a higher low. The VWAP is pretty close to the zero line, and usually once that crosses over, that's when you see the green dot. Also, the white part of this momentum wave is starting to clip in on itself, which is also a sign that a green dot will print soon. Unless it kind of flops over. You can kind of see it not exactly wanting to clip off. It started getting a move inward and then is kind of turning outwards towards the end right here. Probably just because we saw such a large move to the downside. Not really surprising. But right now, if this starts to clip off and we see that green dot, we will have a divergence on the 12-hour. The 8-hour is definitely looking better with money flow. We kind of have a local divergence in money flow as price was coming down to put in lower lows. The 8-hour money flow was increasing slightly, and we also see those divergences in momentum. And this one is confirmed because we have printed a 8-hour candle after that green dot printed, so that is a confirmed divergence. But VWAP is curving back to the downside right now, and actually looks like we printed this green dot before we put in this low. So it's kind of hard to say if this is a divergence because technically this green dot printed here, and that would be why this VWAP is curving back to the downside because we got this move down. But technically you could even say like from here to here, momentum got a move to the upside, price got a move to the downside. Yeah, not super convincing, but the divergences are still potentially there, especially with money flow locally. And the 4-hour is where I'd say it gets a little interesting because we see that local divergence very clear on the 4-hour momentum, getting a move to the upside as price came down to put in a lower low. We didn't even print a red dot on this momentum wave. This move happened so quick that we didn't even get a chance to print a red dot yet. But the VWAP is curving to the downside. However, if this crosses soon and we print a red dot here, but price kind of just continues moving to the upside, then we'll probably just print a red dot and then a green dot here, and we will kind of see that divergence. Either way, even if we don't print a red dot, the momentum has moved up as price has moved down on the 4-hour, and money flow right now has done the same thing. We see that divergence locally with the money flow. Also, we see the divergence in money flow stemming back to these lows. Money flow has come up significantly since these lows, and unless it really turns around here and starts turning to the downside, we will have a pretty clear money flow divergence on the 4-hour. And going down from there, you pretty much see a similar thing. We see that divergence with money flow. Money flow is a lot thicker back here as opposed to here, and we see those local divergences as we came down to put in this last low. So overall, we are seeing lots of divergences at this low, and I would say that if we start to see 12-hour and daily candle closes above these lows, that I would then consider this a confirmed SFP of these lows, which would then give us a reason to make our way back up to the highs of the range. Because we failed to make a new swing low in this downtrend, potentially that means that we will then come up for the highs to try and make a higher high instead of a lower low. And interestingly, we do have this CME gap up around those highs, so there is another reason for us to make our way up there. So I would say right now, for even more confidence in us making a move to the high of the range, I would like to see us reclaim this very key area right here in between the point of control of the range and this very key support resistance level that I've had marked out basically for the entirety of this range. This has been a very key level inside this range in terms of support and resistance, and it is around the point of control of the range. So I think that if we start getting those high time frame candle closes up here, and those divergences really start confirming, we start seeing like the low time frames, money flow and momentum really turning to the upside, kind of confirming those higher term divergences. And then if we can reclaim this key area here and ideally, hold it as support before moving higher, I think we would then definitely have the potential to make a run for the highs of the range, either the value area high or, these last swing highs that we put in up here. So overall, that is pretty much what I'm looking at. If we, cannot hold support inside of this value area. If we start to fall back down below these lows, I will probably be getting a lot more bearish. So we will really have to see how things develop throughout the rest of the day. Now, let's run through the scalp trades that I took today, because it has been a pretty good day of scalping. So overall today, I took 5 trades so far. One short right here, which this one actually was my only loser of the day. This is the one where I got stopped out at a loss. The rest of them were either small wins or pretty large wins. I took a long from right up here. This one was about a break even. It was like a very small win. I wouldn't even count it as a win. It was basically a break even. But this long ended up, turning out to be a very nice trade. I took a lot of profits out around the highs of this local range. And I took 2 long trades from down here, like I said. One from this area and one from this order block. So let's kind of run through those in more detail. So this first one, the only trade that I lost today, was a trade that I took basically as soon as I woke up this morning at about 7:30 a.m. my time. And this was basically just I was trading the rejection off VWAP here outside of the value area high of this local range. And I thought at the time the point of control was a bit lower. Maybe I pulled it from like over here or something, but we never ended up hitting my first target, which was that point of control. And so yeah, that one basically ended up getting stopped out at a small loss. I think less than a 1% loss, a little bit more than a 0.5%. So nothing I was too worried about. And then from there, price just absolutely skyrocketed. And from here, I basically waited until price started forming a range again to start scalping. I didn't, have any trade ideas present in this area. Since we got back above the point of control of this range, I was looking for higher before I looked for, more higher term trades. So basically, I just waited until we formed a little scalp range, and that is what happened here. We started forming a little range. And I basically just traded the range here. I took 2 longs from the, around the lows of the range. This first one, I have to go to a lower time frame, but it was just a golden pocket retest from this low. We got a nice bounce off the golden pocket. And, I basically just took a little scalp there, invalidation below the value area low, which at the time was much different. So let's see what it was back then. Yeah, it was below the golden pocket. So, just a little scalp from around the lows of the range. That one ended up bringing us above the point of control. This was my first TP. And from there, I moved my stop to a little bit below my entry just to ensure a small win. And I got stopped out. So nothing special with that one. Just trading the range essentially. And then if I bring the value area over to here, this was another long I took basically just from the value area low. It was also a golden pocket retest as well. And the main confirmations I was using for these was market Cipher. I was just looking at the 1 minute money flow increasing here, printing a nice trigger wave as we retested that golden pocket. And I was basically just trading the range. The point of control was all the way down here, so my first TP for this one, I believe, was this high volume node, which was at one point the point of control. It kept moving between down here and up here, but that was my first TP. I TP'd a lot more up at the highs of this range, and I TP'd a lot more once we came up above these highs. So this one ended up being a very good trade. It's 7R from where my stop loss is, but I obviously took partial profits, so I didn't capture 7R with that, or whatever it would have been, 6.8. Still a very good trade though, especially just for being a scalp trade off of this local range. And I was holding a bit of this because I was expecting a little bit higher. I thought we would take out this high at least, and maybe then come up for some of the levels I was looking at higher, but we never ended up doing that. We just started dumping non-stop. This was very crazy to watch, I have to say, watching this on the 1 minute time frame. Price just didn't stop. or at least it didn't stop until we came down to this zone I had marked out, which was this NDPOC area. This was a zone I marked out in one of my last videos. I don't remember which one, but it was basically the area in between one NDPOC that just kept moving around. It was either up here or down here, depending on the time frame you were looking at. So this was just a box I was watching. I called it the NDPOC area, and I did get a nice little scalp off this area. If I go to the 1 minute time frame, we did get a nice reaction from here. We originally came down to tap off the top of this box, got a reaction, but then immediately started dumping back down in the next candle. I did not long until we came down to the low of the box, and we hit off that area where we had confluence with that 5 minute order block that was there, and then we started getting another reaction. Now my entry on this was really bad. I had like a 0.5 or 0.7% stop loss on this, so I didn't have a large position size here, and I basically locked in a break even with this one. I took profits up here and moved my stop loss to a break even, which was like below the 786, and that one ended up getting stopped out. So nothing special with this trade. We did see a nice bounce. If I was a little bit more aggressive with it, like if I had just longed as soon as we started seeing that second reaction, I could have probably locked in a decent win with this, just considering how aggressive of a bounce we got. You know, if I had entered down here, would have been like 3R. So yeah, I could have made that a nice trade, but I was a little late to it, and at least I ensured a break even. And that is when we got this move down to this other 5 minute order block. And this is a trade that I'm still in. This one ended up giving us a very nice reaction. I ended up taking a pretty small position, smaller than I would have wanted, because I didn't exactly trust this 5 minute order block. And I had to put my stop loss down below this wick. And, I thought there was a decent chance that we might get another move down into this order block just to stop out the longs. So I took like a 0.5% risk. And by that I mean I risked 0.5% of my trading account when I usually risk 1%. So I took less of a risk with this because I wasn't sure that this was going to be low. And I wanted, to basically have a tight stop. I didn't want to have to cover this whole order block with my stop. So, I took less of a risk with it, had less margin in the trade, but still ended up running. And I'm still in this trade. I got about half of the original position left open. So if this ends up being a larger term swing trade, like if we end up, reclaiming some key levels and continuing to move higher in this range, then what I have left in this position, it will still be a great trade. All right, well, I think that is about all I wanted to go over today. I will probably make another update once, something decisive happens, maybe later today once the daily candle closes, to see if this is a confirmed SFP of these lows. And, from there, maybe I'll look at some more specific levels of resistance. But for right now, I think none of this matters up here until we can get back above this box, the point of control, and this SR level. And then from there, I'm pretty much watching these levels that I have been watching. But anyways, thank you all for watching the video. If you enjoyed, please consider leaving a like and subscribing. Really appreciate the support. And I'll see you all in the next video.